Hi and welcome to this Forex Trendy review. I'm MJ, I'm one of the support team for Mark Carr, and I want to walk through this new little tool that we've been looking at and we're using, and it's actually really good. Not so much for trend trading, and I'm sure it is actually good for trend trading, but we're generally not trend traders, but for scalping. And scalping, of course, is being able to get in, grab 5 or 10 pips and get out, usually on a low time frame. But this little tool, it's quite inexpensive. I think from memory on a quarterly basis it's something like $39 or so, which is really kind of good, and it's live. So these charts are being updated in real time. So you'll see every now and again there'll be a flash and there'll be a new bar. Of course, we're looking at a 5-minute chart here. But let's walk through it. This is, of course, what the tool looks like. It's web-based. So let's have a look at some of the settings. So first of all, you've really got the idea. The tool has trend charts. It has pattern charts, which we'll look at, but we don't actually use. And of course, the settings. Now, what you can see here is these are all the Forex pairs, and in fact, some other gold, silver, and oil, which are most probably CFDs that are being able to be displayed. We can set the time frames that we'd prefer to look at. Of course, the number of charts that I want to visibly see. I can say, let's have a look at 20 of them, which will just give us a lot more options. But what this really does as a tool is allow us to, it will automatically scan all those different instruments in all those different time frames and tell you when one is trending right now. Now, if you think of it, that's perfect for a scalper, because a scalper, we're looking to grab pips now. And so we really want momentum to be on our side. So ideally, this trend trading tool is useful for that, very useful. So rather than scanning your MT4 or your e-signal charts across all these different time frames to try and find something that is actually moving in the right direction, this will do it for us automatically. So what I've done here, of course, is I've turned off some of the high pip spread instruments. As a rule of thumb, you always want to use a broker that has a low pip spread, like effectively low commissions, and don't get confused between commissionless and pip spread, because generally both exist. So most brokers will tell you that they don't charge commission, but they charge a bigger pip spread. So when you want to buy, what you actually pay will be 3 or 4 pips different to what the market is, in the wrong direction, of course, and that's the profit that the broker makes. So you always want to pick brokers that are tight spreads and low commissions. We tend to use interactive brokers who charges a commission per trade, but they charge no spread, effectively the interbank spread. So we might get, for example, half a pip spread on most instruments, but we'll pay a small fee for the actual trade. Now, if you're trading a $10,000 account, that can work out maybe not the right thing for you. But if you're trading 100K lots, or $500,000 lots, $1 million lots, then it's actually cheaper. So that, I guess, is another story. But what I can also do here is turn on the different time frames that I want to look at. Now, reality says I don't really need to look at the 1-minute chart. I really am focused on the low end, on the 5-minute chart. And it'll also show you the drawdown on the recent history of that particular chart. So in this case, we're looking at, say, the last 200 bars, and it'll show you the recovered drawdown, which is the drawdown that has occurred, and then the whole thing's come back again. You'll see more when we have a look at it. So let's just go down to the bottom here and click Save. And I'm actually not going to talk about the patterns here, because the patterns are not something that we use at all. But if you're a trend trader, you might want to go and have a quick look at some of the patterns, some of the flag patterns, triangle patterns, rising wedges. Some of those have been completed, but then you can sort of see here it's showing you that the Aussie Swiss on the 4-hour chart is in a particular pattern. But I'm not going to focus on that at all because we just simply don't use it. So here we are. We've got, first of all, the Euro CAD. On the 5-minute, it tells us that the most recent drawdown has been 31 pips or 19%. You can see that's occurred there. It pulled back since we want to be short. So it did pull back, and then it reverted back again. So 31 pips, yeah, we can kind of see that things have slowed down a bit, and this is not unusual. The time frame that I'm sitting in right now would have this as being the out of time era. Back at this point was when their day was really moving. So again, depending on where you're sitting in the world, these charts will show you, real time what's happening. And the other thing to look at down here is you can see on the different time frames what has been the most recent drawdown. So on the 5-minute, we've already seen that the drawdown on a short position is 19%. On the 15-minute, the drawdown, it's still running short, but it's at 34%. With the 30-minute, it's still short, it's at 50%. 1 hour, it's still short. 4 hour, it's still short. So this is actually a very good opportunity, high potential. Because what this is telling you is on the 1-minute chart, the trend is actually up. But on the 5-minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, and 4 hour, it's down. And so for a scalper, if we were to short this right now, let's say about 1.5118, we could get probably, there's at least 2, 3, 4 pips there. So that to me would be a reasonable trade. I would maybe set a stop loss up at that recent high just above it, and then go for a profit target of say 10 pips on the 5-minute. Purely because this is telling us that the trend in up to the 4 hour has still been down, but on the 1-minute it's pulled back a bit, and that's perfect. If you listen to Mark talk about reversion trading, which is our predominant method of trading, then you'll know what I mean. So if we scroll down again, you can see here that the pound CAD on the daily is up, and so if we look here, the weekly's up, the monthly's up, but the 4 hour, 1 hour, 30-minute, 15 and 5 are all down. You can sort of see in that last day it's been down. So again, this would be a slightly more risky trade on a daily basis. So as a scalp trade, probably wouldn't take it. As a reversion trade, may well be a useful trade to look at. Scrolling down, the Euro New Zealand. Now in the time frame I'm sitting in, this is now we're into the trading day for New Zealand dollar and Aussie dollar. And so you can see here on the 5-minute, trend is down, the 1-minute's down, the 15's up, the 30's up, the 1 hour's up. So again, that would be a slightly more risky trade, but I'd be willing to go short for that for probably about 20 pips. Again, how do I pick 20 pips? I just come back to some of the recent highs. What's the distance that away from where I'm trading? I'd be looking to make sure the amount that I'm willing to risk is the amount that I'm willing to gain. Again, I know some people would turn around and say, let's risk, say, 3 in order to get 1 profit. Well, in the long term, that doesn't work. You really do want to have your risk-reward ratios to be about even or better. Again, scrolling down, next position, US CAD on the 15-minute. The 1-minute's up, but the 5, 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour are down. So again, that's a nice little trade to go down because it's reverted recently, and so therefore we're going to catch it coming the other way. So you can see what this does. We're looking at the daily here. We come to the US CAD on the 5-minute, the New Zealand dollar on the 5-minute. Now that was interesting because we had a New Zealand dollar trade up here. Where was it? The Euro New Zealand. So that's heading down, and of course the New Zealand dollar itself is to the US dollar is heading down, or it's actually heading up. So that means the US dollar is definitely getting weaker at the present time. So you wouldn't scalp the New Zealand US if you're scalping the Euro New Zealand. You don't want to double your risk. Effectively, you're relying on the same thing to happen, which is where the New Zealand dollar is going, up or down. So this is Forex Trendy. In effect, very useful tool. So it doesn't matter what time of the day you want to get up, you just simply log in and you'll get an updated view as to where things are. And you saw that there was a little update just happening there. And you've got all these time frames to play with, and so definitely useful tool for scalping. So that's really all I've got to show you, and hopefully you can buy this yourself. It's a quarterly payment, so it's not exactly it's a great little trial product. You can just pay that $39, try it out for 3 months. Frankly, if you're not making $39 in 3 months, then you shouldn't be trading at all. But give this a go. I think you'll like it. Anyway, bye for now.